There's a new patch for Path of Exile 2, and also I just kind of want to talk about the game for a minute. I have played the most I have ever played Path of Exile 2 in 2 weeks with this launch. I did the subathon, if you didn't know, the 24/7 stream, and these hours, this is the first time I've ever used Steam to play this game. I normally play in the dedicated client, and now I can actually track the hours, and I did not leave it open AFK while sleeping or anything like that. I actually have 211 hours of game time of playing this game since the league has been out. And so, I mean, I've played a lot of hours. I play a hardcore, and then when my character dies, I just keep playing softcore. So I have a 91 Stormweaver, 86 Witch Hunter, 94 Deadeye, 76 Acolyte of Chalupa there, and then I still have an 81 Warbringer left alive in hardcore. So I've made every class so far. Now I got 50 something lich there. I've made every class so far, except I still have to do a Huntress. Now, out of all of these I have played, and I want to talk about the patch, I just want to do a quick shout out for one of the classes here. I feel like the Witch Hunter actually might have been like the most slept on / funnest class that I have ever played currently in the game. And also, this was the first time that I've ever saved up enough to get a headhunter. So this was my first experience actually playing with the headhunter, and I gotta say the experience of both the witch hunter with a headhunter and kind of just doing like a grenade thing is honestly just it's just really fun. I'll be playing that more on live stream today in case you want to like see that. But let's talk a bit about the patch that just dropped and a little bit more about my experience about the league. Now, I had said that one of my biggest issues currently with the game is you would try a dodge roll, and then maybe you hold it just a little bit too long when you dodge roll, and so you do a little bit of a sprint right after the dodge roll, and because when you're in the dodge roll, you can get knocked out of, or when you're in a sprint, you can get knocked out of the sprint by being hit. Sometimes what would happen is you would dodge roll, and then you would pretty much immediately get slapped out of it, and it could be a really annoying, not bug that happened, but you just held the spacebar just a little bit too long. Well, that was actually the first thing that they fixed in this patch that just dropped here. There's a short grace period at the start of the sprint where being hit will not heavy stun you. This is equal to the minimum sprint distance. So now you can never be stunned out of an accidental sprint. So this is a super nice quality of life change. You'll notice a lot of these changes actually in this patch have to do with quality of life or visual indicators. For instance, like we'll just go down here. Zelina, the Blood Priestess, no longer heals from her attacks to hit player minions. Okay, so that's kind of a nice improvement to, the in-game, very fun. This is the very final, if you do the interloads in order, this is the very final boss, and some people find this one to be actually frustrating. But, speaking of visual indicators here, Torvian, this is the guy that's like in the circle and has the three dudes that kind of buff him. Really cool fight, by the way, but if you don't know what's going on, it can be like kind of frustrating, at least in the first play. The ones you figure out what's going on, you just gotta he's gotta pick up the rock, and you gotta stand in front of the thing. He throws the rock, and you dodge out of the way, and knocks the guy. Actually, pretty cool fight, like I say. But it's really hard to actually tell what's going on your first time. I was a bit of a head scratcher for me until I figured out actually, oh yeah, you gotta get him to hit the things on the side. And now there's actual a visual indicator, sort of like telling you this. Or another kind of like, ease of use / understanding change here is added a button to the character selection screen. Have your character be logged into town hideout instead of the last area. So for instance, you could hold control and click, and it would just take your character straight to the hideout, but like you would have to know that. So I noticed that they're starting to add in, like, every time they do these little patches, they're adding in more and more things to kind of help people understand without having to have somebody basically tell them or have watching a tips and tricks video or something. And I love to see these types of things in the patches, because as the game continues to grow its baseline of new players, it's kind of nice to have the clarity of the game. And there's visual clarity issues, related to the skills. That's kind of a different, topic. But in terms of like understanding clarity about what to actually do with the game, I love to actually see these. This one's another example, like various skills used by the prisoner. Now, red flash abilities to let you know that, you can't block these. So they're just trying to like clean up the game a bit. There's a bunch of improvements to like performances and audio issues, etc. And then just a whole bunch of bug fixes. But if you look at this one's actually probably relevant for you here. Fixed a bug where seal vaults could sometimes fail to spawn an idol nearby. So this is that on the map here, these sealed vaults, I've actually been able to open 0 of these, and I'm on my softcore character here, but on my hardcore characters, I've completed, basically everything, like pulled out max tree of this. I need one more Olroth. I did all the boss ones here, and I even did Arbiter, right? And I've never found a single one of these been able to be open to both. So I mean, I found citadels up the ass. I got citadel there, citadel there, citadel there, citadel there, citadel 1, 2, 3 citadels all on the screen right here. I mean, they're everywhere. I've done a lot of the Atlas already. Like you saw, 211 hours, and I've literally never been able to open the sealed vault. So that bug was pretty annoying. But obviously, this league has a ton of bugs. I mean, I think if you've played enough, you'd probably have ran into at least one bug, and you can see that they're working on fixing those. And then at the bottom here, you can see fixed 5, and 4 other crashes. But all in all, this league to me has felt like just sort of a massive success in terms of playability and enjoyability for me. There's still the issues with the end game. There's still the issues with the towers, honestly not feeling great, and the in-game juicy not feeling there. And like I mentioned before, the Atlas tree feeling lackluster. But the obvious focus of this league was on the crafting additions with the new, Abyss pieces, was on, like the changes to the essences, etc., and adding to the campaign. And the amount that this league feels significantly improved to the league before is 2 to 3 times more enjoyable than the previous league. And the fact is we went from what I would know this with the crafting is before people would be like, oh, what do I do to craft this gear? And people would just laugh and say slam and pray. Like, there's some mild things you could do. You could recombinate, you could fracture, and you could annul down, and then chaos one step. But really kind of boil it down to slam and pray. But now what I'm noticing is like you're having conversations with people that have played, Path of Exile for many years, and I'm watching, veterans of the genre here, like try to just go, okay, we'll do this and then do that. Like people are actually having real conversations related to here's where my gear piece is currently. How do I get it to where I want it to be? And then there's actually like a discussion around, well, if we do this and do that, that discussion just didn't even exist before 0.3, and that part of the game was such a huge part of the game for people to enjoy. And when that was lacking, and when there was basically non-existent, that portion of the game, then just a huge reason that people play at all is not there. It's like not having an end game. If you don't have an end game, well, that's a huge portion of the reason that people play. And crafting is almost equally as important, if not as equally as important, in Path of Exile to people as a solid completed in-game. So after having played 200 plus hours, I'm noticing the crafting additions and actually being able to make good pieces of gear. I've even seen some people say they think the crafting is too good now and too deterministic. So we've gone full swing from one side to the other. It's just really made the game like significantly more enjoyable. And originally, like I've been saying from the beginning, this is definitely, in my opinion, like a trade league. Like you have this new trading system, which is just fucking awesome now. So you can actually like trade with people. I'm not trying to do like a whole nother review of the game, but I just kind of want to talk about my thoughts of the game here after 200 hours. This trade system is actually seems to be like a flawless implementation. I'm sure flawless is a bit of an exaggeration, but I haven't had any issues. Like I can't think of something where I'm like, I wish it was not, like that. I just have no problem seeing a couple people get scammed from stuff that was predictable before it came out. I remember seeing a clip of a guy buying something, and then he clicked, and one of them was a divine. He's like, I knew he was going to do that, And so it's, there's still some shenanigans, that happen with this type of thing. But it's drastically better. And I have found myself, I have not used the website trading even once. And yet I've interacted with trade more than I ever have in the previous leagues. And like I was saying, I said that this was a trade league because of this trade implementation, but with the, with the crafting additions, etc., SSF would actually be in a fantastic place as well, because you can actually get essences at a decent rate, and you can get Abyss gear, etc., at a decent rate. So you'd be able to craft gear yourself, no problem. Originally I kind of thought it would take them, till 2027 maybe to have the game ready for release, and I still kind of believe that. But if they're able to take the amount of steps forward in the league, every league like they've done with this league, like this does actually feel like the first true league. I mean, it's 0.2 was nothing compared to this. 0.1 is just like, basically a small patch update and economy reset, etc. Like this is actually the first full league. And if we get this level of additions to the base game every of these 4 months, then really the next update they said in 0.4 is the Druid, plus they're working on the in-game. They've already disclosed that, right? So if the in-game is in 0.4 and they're able to take the steps forward like they did with crafting and this one, then it's going to be a significant step forward. I'm not trying to get ahead of yourself, but if they can do it and they can start releasing a class every time, and they can tackle one major issue of the game every time, they could have this game out, end of 26 or something like that for a full 1.0. I'm kind of interested to see, because now after, I thought it was going to take, 2 more years. Basically, I've been, said that before, like my money would be on it, take 2 years to have this game out. But after seeing how big of an addition, 0.3 actually was, and how much people have been enjoying it, and how much myself have found myself enjoying it, even after spending so many hours in the league already. I'm pretty hopeful for the game actually coming into a full state in the next year. What's interesting is, obviously, I flew down there and did the interviews and had a bit of a experience where I could see what was coming, etc. But like, I actually didn't get to see all of the changes they made. Like, I didn't get to see all of the Abyss crafting pieces, etc. I knew Abyss was the league, and I saw what it looks like when the monsters come out, and I got to see, like, Act 4 was coming and the interludes were coming. And, I got some spoilers there, but I didn't realize, like, how many of the smaller bits of crafting, etc. were coming. So it was kind of a nice, pleasant surprise for me when the game actually, launched 0.3, and there was a whole bunch of stuff in there I just hadn't seen yet. If you want to know something funny, the guy that I voiced here, well, I voiced one of these Abyss monsters, actually, and the Abyss monster that I voiced is like the little skinny guy that, comes out of the ground and he casts or whatnot. I was asking Gazi, I'm like, is my Spectre any good? Like, if you Spectre me, how is it? And apparently he said it was like slow and dumb and bad or something was the notes that he had made on it. So apparently, I don't make a very good Spectre in the game. But that's been kind of fun when I'm walking around just to randomly hear my rah, yeah. I know I haven't been making too many YouTube videos over the past 2 weeks, except just the state of the game video that I did like 10 days ago or something at this point. Like I said, we did the subathon, and that ended up going 13 days. So I was kind of expecting it to be a week or something. That's how long the last one, but we ended up going even longer. So, now the subathon's over, it'll be a little bit easier to make some videos, etc. But just wanted to say hi, tell you how I'm doing, kind of check in on how I'm feeling about the game. It's mostly just positive stuff for me. Normally these leagues, I got my complaints and stuff, and I mean, I have them, but luckily this league just seems like mostly just a giant W and step forward in the game, which is really encouraging because of how much I've been playing the game and how much I just really want the game to be in a great state later on. And mostly it's just in-game complaints and stuff now, but that's supposedly going to be tackled in 0.4 as along with the release of the Druid. So hopefully 0.4 is as successful as 0.3 has been. But anyway, that's about it. Love y'all. Hope you're doing good. I'll be live now if you want to ask a question or come on by the live stream, and I'll see y'all there.